Right now, my twin is sleeping, and so I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk about how we define success and how this idea is really harming you. Because I doubt you'd be listening to me if you were sitting on $100 million or $1 billion. You're definitely not listening to someone like me. And yet this society defines success by that. Fake money. Money that can be hacked into. Money that can be removed at a switch. This is why you have billionaires running around that do other people's biddings. Because they know that truth. You've heard of crypto guys with $100 million and suddenly disappeared. Right? Phantom money. But money that is actually a way to exchange this material good for that material good or what have you. Money is not the root of all evil. People are. People who use money for the wrong ends are the root of that evil. Money, I call it tofu money. You know why? Because if you've ever cooked with tofu, you know that whatever you put in tofu, whether it's savory or sweet, becomes savory or sweet. Money's like that. Money is a frequency and energy. But do not define your beloved or yourself by the lack of your bank account. That's not to say don't be abundant. That's to say that your abundance in this particular life may be $75,000 a year, maybe $100,000 a year, maybe $500,000 a year. Still not rich, not in these terms. So we actually respect people that sit on a $100 million yacht. We respect them as if they're wise, as if they have a secret that you don't have. What they have, many of them, is irreverence to rules. And they're willing to do shit you'd never do because you have integrity. Now, not all money is made that way. Don't get me wrong. Anita Roddick, who was the founder of The Body Shop, before The Body Shop was bastardized as it's been, was an amazing woman of consciousness. She created The Body Shop in London, I believe in 1972. And her idea was to go to indigenous women and get raw products, raw cacao, raw oils, bowls, shells, whatever the fuck these women could put together, pottery. And so she was equitable with these women. She actually gave women an economy to give them some sort of independence. And she became a multimillionaire. Another person that you can look up is Michael Singer, who wrote The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment. He's a billionaire, but he's not an asshole. He did it because his frequency matched abundance. And so he wrote these books. He certainly doesn't need to sell books to make a living. That's for damn sure. He's doing it to give back to the collective. Money brings you choices. There's no doubt. Money brings you stability and choices. There's no doubt. But that is not to say that you should look at a woman's or a man's character by what they drive. And I don't know where I learned this, honestly. I really don't, because it certainly wasn't my parents that taught me that. I'm being real. I love my parents. God bless them. But my dad was all about money. $100 million yachts. My mother was into fashion. Chanel suits, Hermes bags, before Americans even knew what the fuck that meant. I'm not being, arrogant. I'm just telling you the truth. But there's this sense that poisoned our family unit based on that. On my father's deathbed, he didn't say, I wish I had $100 million. He said, you guys were my El Dorado all along, and I never knew that. If you don't know what El Dorado is, look it up. City of Gold. You were my El Dorado. We have created a society, which, by the way, I was part of, with lifestyles of the rich and famous. I'd sit there with my husband. We were both in our very early 20s, in the 80s. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Wow. I want to do that. I want to be that. I want to have that. Which created a sense of lack, which was purposely done. See, when you hit people at the root chakra through porn, through feeling that they don't have enough, oh, I want that Birkin bag. I want that Chanel bag. Baby, if you love me, you'll adore me through Dior. Can you imagine that shit? So when love becomes a currency, when loyalty becomes a currency, when your respect for a man or a woman is based on what they have in their bank account, you've lost the point of love, haven't you? Yeshua wasn't rich. I doubt he had a fucking gold coin in his pocket, ever, honestly. But he sure in the fuck was rich. He traveled. A lot of people will disagree with me. He went to India. The lost years, my friends. Went to India, went to Tibet. Now that's being recorded. We're finding out some recordings that make no sense. Tibet? What the fuck? Walked. Used camels, donkeys, horses, however he traveled, but he wasn't rich. That's for damn sure. We all know that. This idea that we have a society splintered over what a woman and a man can bring to the table financially, not emotionally. I don't hear those dialogue. Well, I hear them, but then it's really covered over by financially. What do you bring to the table? And it's kind of interesting. What do you bring to the table? How much money do you have? It's all weird to me. Because the things that you will learn in your life will be from experiences that money can bring you. Yeah, you're taking a plane ticket. You bought it with money to go to Peru to do some spiritual work with a shaman, with your beloved. And both of you are learning massive stuff. You bought a camper. You've decided to travel all over Europe or all over America with the camper. And you're putting it together with money. Yeah, I get it. Money, yeah. But the experiences that people are having with each other isn't based really on how much they have in the bank account. It's the emotional bank account that they have. So you've got some couples that are emotional billionaires. They're emotionally connected to each other. And the irony is when they get to that point of consciousness and that point of connection with each other, money comes eventually. It does. It's just a frequency. But they're not looking for that. They're looking to connect with each other in a very deep, beautiful, meaningful way. And the sad part is that people are strutting around with their Rolex watches and so forth, which, don't get me wrong, I love a good Submariner. My husband had one when you could buy one for $1,000. Now you can't buy one for $55,000. Good luck. I mean, a classic. There are waiting lists for shit like that. Waiting lists. People are waiting for a handbag. People are waiting for fucking watch. You believe that shit? But they're not waiting for, say, being on the waiting list to go on a Freddie Silva trip to Egypt. That's something that me and people like me salivate over. The Freddie Silva trip, for example, he used to have a waiting list for Egypt. Now they have to do a lottery because that's insane. That's how insane. I think he only chooses like 15, 20 people because he wants it. Because what he's doing is intimate. He could actually have a conveyor belt if he really wanted to, but he does the trip once. I think maybe at the most. He might do it twice a year, if at all. That's an experience. Because what he teaches is it's not that it costs money. Of course, it costs money. Some of us don't have the money to do it. It's the experience. It's this incredible spiritual growth that happens from one of his trips. And what I find concerning is girls and boys being trained that their worth is based on what they wear and how much money they have in their bank account, or how much money they can get from somebody else's bank account. And it's becoming, the chick sprinkle, and then there's another one now going with the man, the soft man era, they're calling it, soft man era. We've always had sugar babies, always. They were called demi-mondaines in France. In fact, many of them became millionaires, these women. They were what you call courtesans. And they would give their time, like geisha. Sometimes it wasn't even about sex. It was just time to be seen with this beautiful woman. And this was in particular going on in Paris in the turn of the century, meaning 19th century. And they were called demi-mondaines, which means half world. And these women became fucking multimillionaires. You believe that in that era? So it's not a new thing, okay? There were also these wonderful men who were gigolos. That's not a new thing either. So, I mean, let's call it for what it is, my friends. Let's just, I don't know why people are trying to, keep going, are trying to rewrite words to pretty it up. It's been going on for thousands of years, actually. The geishas are one aspect, and there are other aspects. Let me think of that. In Greece, one of the most famous courtesan, her name was Aspasia, and she fell in love with Pericles, who fell in love with her. But she started out as a courtesan. She was highly educated, incredibly intelligent, used several languages, and could play instruments and recite poetry. We've actually dumbed ourselves down because now none of them, the sugar babies we're seeing are bimbos, male and female. They have no brains. There's no, it's just about money and things. And we're missing the point in seeing the value of a man, because the question's been put to these shows where they'll say, well, would you choose a loyal man who makes $50,000? And you know the answer, the bold answer is no. No. That's why Andrew Tate has 10 chicks on a payroll. They're all his lovers. He has his own harem. They're on the payroll. And shock of all shock, he goes to jail. And I think one showed up at his jail. One. He was shocked that, he was kind of surprised, which made me laugh because I'm like, dude, if you put a chick on a payroll and that's the only connection you have and it's not emotional, then you get what happens. It's bankrupt. It's bankrupt emotions. There's nothing there. The emotional component of women, of really beautiful high, what do they call them? High value women? Yeah, high value. I'll tell you what a high value woman is not toxically loyal. She's loyal. She's loyal to her beloved, who treats her like a queen, who brings out her Shakti energy, where she doesn't have to be the man of the house. That's a high value woman. Because she has a high value man who makes her feel like a woman because he does the right moves. He may make $50,000. See, it's not the money. It's what he makes her feel like. His eyes are on her. He's the man of the house. He protects her. She feels. He makes decisions with her. He co-creates a home with her so that she can be the feminine energy. We women do not want to be with a man where we become the man of the house. So a high value man is that. He makes you feel like a woman, feminine, safe, to be a feminine. And yeah, there might be some challenges of a bill or this bill or that bill. But both of you work together to create a nest egg, to create a nesting environment for both of you. And eventually, the irony of this connection, the guy, the woman, will go from making $50,000 each a year, or maybe it's a combined salary. That happens. Both of them have to work so that they get $50,000, which I hope you all know it's way, way below middle class, right? You realize that. They're fucking struggling. But eventually what happens is because they're so emotionally connected to each other and there's such respect for each other and trust for each other that the nothing money they're getting and working their asses off to get creates wealth. What is wealth? For some of us, wealth would be $200,000-$300,000. I mean, that would be, for many of us, it'd be like, holy fuck, I can actually take a vacation and not look over my shoulder and my bills. High value people, okay, non-gender specific, have such a connection with each other emotionally that they know that by just being in each other's presence and trusting each other and surrendering to each other and playing out the masculine and feminine roles in each other's lives to such a level of beauty that money will be attracted. It's an energy, it's a frequency, it's a match. In some way, they'll come across, like there's this chick, I'm going to talk about her again, who's come up with a whole fucking business, a whole goddamn business on magnesium spray. Another woman on just lip gloss. Another woman on just candles. Another woman on just a tea, one fucking tea. Because one girl lives in a caravan with her beautiful boyfriend, her beautiful man, who adores her. The caravan's gorgeous. It looks something out of fucking Hobbit. And they live in England. And she's created drawings where she's creating blankets that are hand weaves in South Carolina or North Carolina, one of the Carolinas. And they're hand weaving and they're selling them for $167. So let's say that her cost may be $80, right? My math, hang on. So she's making like $87 per blanket. That's fucking incredible. Passive income, basically, because there it is. But they're together. They're emotionally connected. They do videos, content together. He adores her. She adores him. They love their life. At this point, they probably don't need to live in a caravan. We might see them expand their life by buying a little cottage somewhere in the English countryside. Progression, because of their commitment to each other. But to look at a man, and this is straight up women, I'm telling you, to look at a man and decide whether you're not going to date him because he has no money. Right? Oh, well, I'm not going to date him. He has no money. Well, my question would be, does he have money? To be honest, my question is, what does he think about? What does he read? What are his moral values? Do they match mine? Is he hardworking? What's going on that maybe he needs that feminine component, right? And not to help him, but to help each other. And it starts out as a friendship. Of course, there's the sexual tension, but there's that friendship. And there's suddenly this partnership, this connection of building something together, a life. First, it's a life together. Then it could be a business together, evolving, because there's confidence and security in each other's presence. So that now, the couple is throwing business ideas back and forth because they both know that they want more for the other person. They deserve more for the other person. They deserve choice, abundance. Hey, let's go to the pro. We can't afford it. I'm sick of this. I can't afford it. Let's figure out a solution out of the hole we're in. Not slaying each other, denigrating each other, calling each other's names because there's not enough money on the table. Coming up with solutions. But that's from that solution-driven idea of abundance is based on the foundational structure of the relationship in the first place. There is no fear. There's fearlessness. It's all about experiences and wanting more experiences. I want to go to Peru. So do I. Okay, we got to do something so that our jobs are portable. What can we do? What kind of content can we create so that we can travel and make just enough money? Most of these people are very humble. They don't want more. They're not on a waiting list for a Birkin bag or a Rolex watch. That's not their thing. They don't want the watch. In fact, if you gave them, they'd sell it so they could go to Peru. They're not into status. They don't give a fuck about impressing other people. The Met Gala was a very important moment in history because it really showed people. Because it's not like the Met Gala has never happened before. It's not like this is a one-off. That's what's so funny about self-realization on the collective. It's kind of like what happened right before the French Revolution, just so you know, is that mothers were watching their kids starving. Meanwhile, they were seeing balls encrusted in diamonds and jewels and pearls, real fucking pearls, not bling bling, real shit. And they were like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I'm not even allowed to poach on my lord's land to poach pheasants, or else I will get hung. But they can do this, and I'm taxed on barely what I don't have. So essentially that's what happened at the Met Gala. The collective got to see $75,000 a ticket. Fuck the ticket. The dresses alone were probably $100,000. The jewelry, the arrogance. It was interesting. It was a wake-up call. And now there's a movement, hashtag unfollow celebrities. I made it up. It's not a real thing. But honestly, people are literally looking for celebrities to block or to unfollow. I never follow celebrities, honestly. because I don't find them to be wise. How can you be wise if you have never put cardboard on the bottom of your shoe? How can you be wise if you've never sewn the crotch of your pants so you could go to work? How can you be wise if you only had one shirt and one tie? Or you ran your last pantyhose in the day when you had to wear pantyhose at work. That was in the day. I don't know what's happening now. How can you be wise if you just got a shut-off bill and you have to choose between eating or waiting for your next paycheck, which is 7 days away, and paying a bill? You like your phone bill. And then you have friends bringing you what they got in their fucking fridge, and care packages, bring you cans of soup, shit like that. Or borrowing $5 to get to work with gas. How in the fuck are you going to be wise if you have never, ever, ever, ever experienced that? That's why I don't believe in Trump. I don't believe in people who have always had a silver spoon. I don't believe in that. I believe in people who came out of Rwanda, okay, and survived that ghetto, and came here to make a life for themselves. And they own a little market on a corner in the ghetto somewhere. And they're still fucking survived. I believe in that. I believe in you. Much more than I would ever believe in any of these politicians, any of these celebrities, ever in a million years. You see, because it's people like you that'll go out of a grocery store and see a homeless person and go, I'm going to make, what kind of sandwich do you want? I'm going to bring you water and a sandwich. Here's $5. Good luck, man. God bless. It's going to get better. That's you doing that. Because certainly the Met Gala people would never do that. I doubt it. Seriously doubt it. The John Lennons of the world are no longer walking the earth. Those were the last celebrities with a heart. Who gave a fuck about people. Who really gave a fuck about people. What we have now are people that are very proud of what they've accomplished. And in some sense, they should be proud, of course. Good. Thumbs up. But now what? Now you're sitting on an overabundance of money, which is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with being overabundant. But usually the law of the land, meaning the law of the universe, is that overabundance is to share in some aspect. And I don't mean writing a check to charity. That's definitely the last thing on my mind when I say that. Because too many charity heads make way too much money, as you well know. 97% of it goes to salaries, not to actual causes. Hope you know that. So that's a joke. No, I mean real things. People who are trying to build, say, systems and care for kids at risk, teenagers at risk, or veterans, right? Veterans. Or families that have kids on the autism spectrum that are nonverbal and they have no money, but the kid needs swimming lessons for their needs, for physical needs, horseback riding lessons. People need that, and yet they don't have the money. And no one's donating to those fucking places. Those tiny, tiny charities sprouted up by a mom and pop situation, or just women, or just a group of men for the veterans. Because they figure, the vet really needs more than just a fucking horseback riding lesson today, but it could help that man feel better about his injuries, his mental injuries, physical injuries. It could help a kid. It could help a woman who's just left a very abusive relationship. Sounds benign. But sometimes all people need to do is disconnect from the city life, their apartment, and have a weekend in the country. Those kinds of nonprofit organizations, tiny, tiny little places, and who rely on people like us. They're getting no fucking attention and no money. Only, the big money makers. You know what I mean? The big ones. Where they make the president of that nonprofit laughable, $13 million a year or something like that. You can look it up. They have to post their salaries. It's funny, actually. So when you look at how we value people by what they have in their bank account, it's almost like sickness. It's actually a disease, because certainly Robin Hood wasn't rich, because Robin Hood was stealing from the rich to give to the poor. So clearly he was not rich, or else he would have just robbed. And he kept doing it because he had to keep his band fed. And he kept giving to those who had absolutely nothing, so they could pay their taxes before being thrown off their land. It wasn't even their land. They were renting the land, many of them, serfdoms. So it's interesting how we hear all these stories throughout the centuries of of poor people doing right by other people, by sacrificing themselves for the benefit of the collective. And yet, we still think that we should admire and respect someone who's sitting on $1 billion, 100 million, 50 million, whatever. We should still respect and disrespect a man who has a long overgrown beard, lives in a tent in somewhere. I saw a gorgeous man, absolutely gorgeous, sharp blue eyes, front teeth gone, but beautiful face. Could have been a model, GQ model, straight up. He was asked, "Why are you homeless?" "I lost my kid." He lost his little 5-year-old boy. The kid died. And he could not live with it. God knows how the kid died. Could have been any number of reasons. But the guy was clearly an alcoholic, probably lost his teeth in a fight, and could not get off the street mentally because he could not win. He had such self-loathing. He had such guilt because he had lost his little boy. Every single person on the streets, especially after COVID, has a story. And yet we look at them like they're trash, like they're for real. Or we won't even look at them. Now, I'm going to give you a suggestion. The summer is going to hit. Sprouts has water for $1.29 a gallon. Buy 5 and keep them in your car. When you see someone homeless this summer, stop your car. Sometimes you may not even have money. That's okay, but you'll have water. Would you like water? Do you know how many of these homeless people say, "Oh my God, yes"? Because if they have to choose between a bag of chips or candy bar because they're hungry, and water, which is expensive in these gas stations, as you well know, they'll choose whatever, but they're dehydrated. So my suggestion to you this summer, #water to the homeless. Again, I made that up. Give water. Put water in your car, in the back of your car, in your front seat if you got no passengers. And guess what? You'll be amazed how many homeless people you'll see that have no water. And just drive up and go, "Do you want water?" Boom. "Oh my God, yes." "Do you want a bag?" "Yes." Buy bags, at Trader Joe's, at Home Goods, at whatever, and have a few bags and just have the water in a bag. "Yep, I want a bag. Yes, I want the water." I can't tell you how often this helps homeless people. And if you have an extra couple dollars, yeah. Now, it's interesting because people say, "Oh, they'll go and get drunk." How many times have you had a joint, right? A drink, or I hope nothing more than that, but okay, but, or whatever, to soften the edges of your fucked up day, much less week? How many times? Do you really think people can do this homeless shit's dead stone cold sober? Do you really think so? You think that's possible? So let's not judge people for what they're doing with the money, because it's none of our business. What you need to look at is the eyes, the integrity of the soul. And you can tell. There's some people you can fucking tell. I came across a woman who had an accent. I think she was from Eastern Europe. Beautiful eyes. And she had to keep herself a little dirty in the face. I knew it. She wasn't stupid. So that she wouldn't be as attractive. You know what I'm saying? That kind of, self-protection. Gave her money. Gave her water. And I had some cookies. I know. That's what I had. And gave her those. Good, beautiful soul. I wish I had $100 million. Because I'd have a beautiful little shelter house in the woods. So people could come out in the morning in the quiet and hear the stillness and hear birds singing and smell the fresh air and walk around probably dazed and awed by the peace. That's what these people need. They don't need our judgment. They need our help. And COVID really created a lot of that homelessness, a massive amount of homelessness. I remember when I lived in Malibu, I was renting a house for a room, which is unheard of in Malibu. Rooms go for like $3,000. I scored. That's another story. I've spoken about how to manifest shit. That's impossible. But at the time, right on the heels of COVID, it was January 2020, right? Malibu, Pacific Coast Highway, had vans and tents and vans and tents and vans. So we already had a problem, right? It was definitely a lack of balance of wealth. And when COVID went full force, they went ahead and removed these people's homes from them. Literally confiscated these vehicles, some of them broken down for probably a couple of years, and put them out. See, removing homelessness isn't the that's not kind. They did that in San Francisco. There was a Chinese diplomat of some kind that was coming in, and they were very proud that overnight they had removed all the homeless people in San Francisco overnight. And the question by the conspiracy theorists, I say that with some not of respect, just so you know where I'm coming from, and said, where the fuck are they though? Because some of the other homeless people that were in other blocks said, I haven't seen them since they were removed. Like, I don't even know where the fuck my friend is. I haven't seen my friend since. That's another question. But they removed them. They didn't move them. See, removed, not moved. Removed is, where the fuck are they? Were they thrown away somewhere else that's even darker? But move means, listen, we don't want you to be homeless. We've created a little community, and we're moving you there. You'll have free electricity, solar power, we have water, everything's done. You can live there indefinitely. We'll have social work coming to visit you. We'll see what you need. We'll see if you want to get back to work. We'll see if you need mental health care. We'll help you. That's moved. Moving from one place to another. Removed, there's no solution. In Sacramento, where I lived there for a little while, people were tented out in front of City Hall. And these attorneys, I laugh because I have to laugh because or else I'd fucking be howling. These attorneys, bureaucrats would, literally walk to their lunch unconcerned. I first saw the sickness of this ability to ignore poverty and when I lived in Hong Kong. It was in the 1970s. And I lived in I don't know if it's still there in Hong Kong. It was called the Excelsior Hotel. It was an amazing hotel. I mean, like fucking a city within a city, shops within, I'm not kidding. Because it would make sense because during the monsoon, everything would be flooded. So of course you didn't want to go out during the monsoon season. But anyway, I remember coming out and I would see I'm talking about skinny little old men in their 80s pulling rickshaws and fat tourists. Not just paying them and go, hey, dude, have a good day. Here's a couple ducats here. Here's some, No, get on the fucking rickshaw thing. It was funny to have this old man who might have weighed, I don't know, 140 pounds and 5'9". Pull them in a rickshaw. I saw people right outside the hotel with no arms, no legs. I saw people in Kowloon Bay living. They don't do that anymore. I think they cleaned it up, as they put it, but would live right there in the bay, in houseboats. And I remember my father telling me they were born on those houseboats. They will die on those. They don't know any other way to live on those houseboats. And the stench, you wouldn't believe the stench. We've normalized so much shit. We don't connect and we don't unify ourselves with other people. I think there's a couple reasons. One is I think we're afraid to look at a homeless person, afraid that I think it's honestly unconscious that might be us, and it frightens the fuck out of us, so we don't even want to look at it, right? Avoidance. And so we don't look at a homeless person. I mean, really look at them. Because when I give something to a homeless, I look at them. I want to gauge them because I'm going to be straight up with you. Some energies, I'm like, yeah, fuck that. No, they're here for a reason. And it wasn't, they're fucked up. I'm not giving them shit. Yes, that's judgmental. I size people up. For the most part, though, it's clear cut. They need, I have, I give. And usually, quite often, all I have is water. But for them, it's everything. I mean, water is water. I remember the CEO of Nestle saying that water was not a human right. Can you imagine? And he's still living among us. He might have been in the Met Gala. But anyway, moving on. That fear of looking into the eyes of a homeless person is not going to stay in your consciousness. It's not going to lower your frequency. If anything, it's going to give them strength when you say, it gets better. Hilary Swank was homeless. Do you guys know that? With her mother in a car. And she ended up winning an Oscar. I wish I knew his name, but it's an African name. The guy who was in Gladiator, who was Russell Crowe, your Maximus friend in the movie Gladiator, he was homeless in the Paris metros. He was homeless for years. And he begged for money in the Paris metros. There he was, on Gladiator, desired by women all over the world. Things can change for people. Homelessness is not the end of a life. Sometimes it's being ground to dust to start a new life. And many people, it hasn't been their fault. It wasn't their fault. And no one deserves to be homeless. No one. It's a right. It's a human right for everyone to have a roof. There are people who have tried to actually create little shanties. Clean ones, by the way, not dirty ones, clean ones, with whatever they could find. And then, of course, the city comes in to clean it up. Beautiful little places. There was a cave. I forgot where it was. I think it was California. There was a cave. They found a clean couch, clean chairs, a whole little apartment in a cave. And they decided to come in and rip it out. Why? What laws? It's a cave. There's no fires. Nothing's going to happen. It's a fucking cave. But they ripped it all out. It was actually cute. It was actually well furnished. But they destroyed that person's home because they don't have the license to do it. License? To see, this is what I mean by infrastructure. Yeah, that doesn't work if it's unkind. Let me read your comments. I was looking up. I'm sorry here. Let me read your comments. Make backpacks with things from the dollar store. So adorable. I'm doing that with my kids this summer. Good. We need a person-centric versus objective-centric money systems. That's my calling. Very good. Affordable, not adorable. Gotcha. My favorite panhandling sign. Why lie? I need a beer. I love that. I love that. Because sometimes you do need a beer to just soften the edges. I'm going to be very honest. Sometimes I have a joint. Sometimes I have a Guinness. I don't give a fuck. Because it's fucking hard. Okay, I want to create a homeless rehabilitation homes. Just have to find the land first. Very beautiful. That's really awesome, Rachel. Here in Sacramento, we have tens of thousands. They shift them around. Exactly, Ann. I used to live in Sacramento, so that's why I know. My son and I have filmed blocks and blocks and blocks. And this is, by the way, this is no different in Berkeley, and it's no different in San Francisco. No person should need to give to another. Everyone should be a source, not a cost. Owe the soul to do that job. Simon Bolivar was the richest person in the world, lost it all, then freed South America. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I find that we can actually we don't have to do a lot. Like for you who live in Sacramento, right? You know, right? That the bottled water, the huge gallon water, it Sprouts is $1.29. Spring water, $1.29. I mean, it's like so affordable to just do. And then, sometimes that's why, there's an old spiritual belief system called tiffing. Am I correct? Is it tithing? Tithing, that's what it is. And it's 10%, right? And I used to give to Save the Children. And I still will here and there. But I really, massive amounts of resources that is homelessness. And people were outside this, that, and the other. And I remember one day my son was gone for too long. And I went, hey, dude, what's going on? Are you okay? And he said, no, I came across this entire family, and they're from the Ukraine. It up this way, and I just got paid, and I bought them some groceries, things that they don't have to cook. The heart of my son is just amazing. And they were trying to raise money to go back. Some people have signs up, and they're trying to raise money to pay the rent so they're not homeless. So they're one rent payment away. And some of them don't have IDs, right? Identification papers, because they were lost or stolen. And they don't have the money, not the money. They don't have their IDs to go to social services. And you would think social services would say, well, have you ever been fingerprinted? Let's look at the DMV records. Go ahead, give me your thumbprint. Let's do a scan. Let's do this. They don't want to, because they have the job. They no matter what they do, they're going to get paid, right? So you'll have one social service worker that does amazing work, way beyond the realm of reason, right? But most of them are fucking shit. I remember I had a friend who could not get his ID to save his life, had lost his ID. for 10 months. I called social service. They hung up on me. They didn't want to talk to me about it either. And finally, he ended up in Florida. And in Florida, within like a week, he went to the police station. They called, the other state. And he was approved. He was confirmed that who he was, it was true. And he was able to get his ID. The very state he was in, where he was born, would not give him his ID for 10 months. The very state that had nothing to do with him found a solution to find out, to verify his identity so he could get an ID at DMV. This is what I mean by bullshit. That's absolute fucking bullshit. And so when you go through this, when you have friends who go through this, you develop an understanding of how broken the system is. It makes you wiser. You understand it. You can help people understand that this is not unusual. It's not a one-off occurrence, sadly, because I was talking to a lot of people who were, there are people, I don't know if you know this, that drive around in vans looking for homeless people to help them if they want, to help them access resources because they're too tired to advocate for themselves anymore. They're exhausted. Or to get a shower somewhere. You do realize that if you're homeless and you have no idea, you can't get a membership at the gym to take a shower. You get that, right? But we don't have any vans that come and bring showers. We don't have any vans that bring porta potties. We don't have any vans that bring water to the homeless population during the summer. Knowing that it's hot as fuck, too dangerous to be out sometimes. That's how hot it gets in some of the states. And there are no vans, paid by the city, the state, to bring showers with security so that people are safe to take showers, to do these things. My God, even Gaza has a system of showers. I'm sure you've followed that point where you know that they'll take a shower once a week, right? But the point is they have showers. Even they have that system, and they're in full-on Geno. But we can't seem to figure this shit out here, where we know there's a massive population of, say, 500 to 1,000 people homeless, right? We know this. No water's brought to them. People are being arrested for giving out food to the homeless. No showers and no porta potties. None of that. It's by design. Our tax dollars aren't going for what we would do, you and me individually. And we can't write off our donations because we're doing it right there on the spot. But we're doing it as a collective and individually because we know that it's necessary. No one else is going to do it. The state is not going to do it. The city is not going to do it. If you actually set up a shower system where you brought like 5 stalls of showers, very, very secure, and you brought some of your homies with you to guard the showers and to have people stand in line to take turns taking a shower, you'd be arrested. Did you know? You have to laugh, because if you don't, you'll start fucking sobbing and going in massive depression. But all of that, like nitty gritty stuff of the inflexibility and the toxicity of our infrastructure is real. And that's what we're all working at Starseed. We're working to change it. We're working where there is none of that bullshit. That if you have food, you're allowed to have a soup line on the spot to feed the homeless and not be in fear of being arrested for the 100th time. We're co-creating, we're looking to co-create a world that is kind, generous, abundant for all. That's the game. That's what we're looking to do. Oh, thank you. You're very kind. So are you. You're. It takes one to know one. Hello, how are you? So, I'm gonna go, but I wanted to bring that up. I did do a live, if you guys missed it, on the bear in the woods, and again talking about the subtlety of the divine and conqueror. And I want to just make sure to be clear. There's no doubt that men have a force, a physical force that can overpower the average woman without even a second thought. There's no doubt of that. And there's no doubt that men have been controlled and manipulated by the root chakra for decades. There's no doubt of that. And that this has actually created some really stifling energy, some really toxic energy, the wrong type of energy. But at the same breath, if you watch my video on bears and men and women also, because I talk about mean girls and things of that nature. I want us to every time we're trying to be divided, whether it's by religion, you know, Islamophobia, homophobia, whatever phobias, any phobia, I want you to think and ask yourself, who does it benefit and why are they doing this? There's no doubt that there are women that are toxic as fuck. I remember hearing a story of a woman who kept giving birth to her babies and putting them in the back seat of her car and letting them perish. That was a woman, not a man. So we have very toxic, sick people out here that we have to be careful of. There's no doubt. But we also have very, very kind people, and we have to teach our children how to size people up, how to listen to their instincts, how to feel their gut. One of the things I used to do with my little 5-year-olds, right, was ask directions. I mean, knowing very, very well he wouldn't be able to repeat all the directions, or ask where this shop is, and I would have him go while I sat there watching him, right, making sure he was safe. And he would come back to me and I'd say, how did you feel in your stomach? Did the person make you feel good? Scared? Tell me, how did it feel? And then I would touch his body. How did it feel here, his stomach? How did it feel here, his heart? How did it feel here, his forehead, third eye? And he would tell me. And he'd say, good or not good. Oh, not good. Tell me why. And he would tell me. I go, good. It was very good. You read that person. Very, very good. Trust that feeling. Because that feeling is not lying to you. That's exactly what that person's about. And we would go on our way. We have to teach our children to grow up into adults to feel the energy of what's being brought to them in the body of another human being, man or woman. Because, see, girls have been lured into the woods by girls to be unalivened. I'm repeating myself for a reason. We have to do better as a society to raise better human beings uniformly. But there are environmental systems that are so corrupted and so evil. Like, for example, there are kids right now growing up as homeless kids. Many of them can't go to school. I remember, I forgot what city this was. I don't know if it was a city in upstate something. I really can't remember because it was like 7 years ago. But they were cutting school busing out because they didn't have the budget. I go, how the fuck are these kids going to go to school? I asked the person that. They said, we don't know. So there are kids that are homeless. They don't have bus fare. Okay? They don't have ID. They lost it. Maybe they were locked out of the apartment because the rent wasn't paid. All their belongings was in there and they never got to get their precious documents. And you might say, well, why not put in a safety deposit box? Because they don't have a bank account. Because people don't have these things. So here's this kid. Now social services is threatening to take the kid's custody away from a parent. There's a lot of weird, nefarious shit happening that we are not hearing because these people don't have a phone. Because they don't have ID, so they can't get the Obama phone. You get the circle of shit that people are trapped into. And the despair, right? That's what we are doing as Starseeds. We're here to change that. We're here to balance the table. And the table that we are holding up with our shoulders for the 1% is we're getting off our knees. And game is up. The jig is up. The Met Gala was the funniest shit. They have no idea what they just did. They have made millions of people, probably hundreds of millions of people, mad as fuck. That's good. It's exactly what it was meant to do. But we need to take that energy and construct it into visualizing. And you might say, well, that doesn't, fuck it, it does work. Because there are people taking inoperable cancers and dissolving it through visualization. So we know it works because there's documentation of that. Let's not split hairs on bullshit. We know that works. We know it does. So they've done that. So we, our starseeds, are asked to turn on the ignition of our power, to raise that intention, to escort in this planet into the new earth, so that a person who decides to carve out a little home in a cave with gorgeous furniture, looks beautiful. If it was an influencer, you would say, oh my God, that's so beautiful. That's so cool. On their land, right? Let's say they set up a cave like that. You would have said, oh my God. But no. Powers that be walked in and tore it all up. And then, yeah, it wasn't beautiful anymore. It looked like trash. We're changing the way the earth moves. We're changing. The reins of power are going to the 99%. And we are going to start deciding what we do with our beautiful land. We will be the custodians of this land. We always have been, but we've been, fucking prevented to do the full aspect. When we look at money and how we respect people who have money, think again. My son was very frustrated with something about his father and my beloved, my twin. He said, well, but they're losers because they didn't have money. I go, Jeff Bezos has $177 billion. 177B. And he's done nothing. He could take $30 billion. I said that to my son. And change the face of this country overnight. You know this, right? He goes, yeah. I go, so you're going to tell me that he's a better man than your father? Who had he had that kind of money, would have done that? Without a second thought. Without even thinking twice. And my twin would have done the same. You realize that, right? You're actually comparing a piece of shit guy, Jeff Bezos, who's a piece of shit, who could do that overnight, doesn't, chooses not to. And your father and my twin would have done that overnight without a second thought. Now you tell me who's a better man, who's got more value. And he calmed down. He realized, because he's been trained subtly through society's influence, through social media, that money makes you a good person, a successful person. It fucking doesn't. It's what you do with that money that makes you a successful person. How you act with society. How you see yourself as a custodian. So let me go back to this couple. So this couple 40 years ago they went onto this arid land. There's a picture. It's arid. It looks like fucking Mars, okay? And they decide with their little money, because they're not rich at all. In fact, they're not at all. They start planting trees. I heard a man did that as well. He changed the entire ecosystem. So this couple there's a fucking forest now of trees they planted. Are you going to tell me they're not successful because they're not sitting on $100 million? Or are you going to tell me they're successful because they actually changed 100 acres of land? I'm saying 100 acres, it could be 1,000. I actually don't know. But they changed a plot of land from looking like Mars to looking like a forest, a meadow, forest, ecosystem, birds, animals, water, amphibians, whatever, frogs. Wow, that's success. That's a great human being. That's like, let's respect that. Let's stop respecting a person that can flex and go to the Met Gala at 75, 80,000, whatever the fuck it was. That night of 4 hours or whatever, however many hours it lasted, let's say 6 hours, they probably dropped $200,000 to go there. Jewelry, makeup, massages, preparing, all of it, outfit. It's carnivalesque. The success is a woman like you, Rachel, who's looking for land, right, to do a rehabilitation center for homeless people. That's a woman who's successful, who will probably be unsung and doesn't want to be actually known. In fact, wants to be anonymous. Just leave me the fuck alone. I'm just doing what no one else is going to do. I'm doing it. Well, you could be famous. I don't want to be famous. I'm just doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I have the resources, so I'm going to do it. That's what we're looking to become, all of us, individually and collectively. And I think that we're getting there fast. And the Met Gala was the best thing that ever happened to any of us, to be honest. I think it was like fantastic. Under the radar for me, exactly. Oh, you made a video. I was going to ask your opinion on the man versus bear. Yeah, check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. I sure did. I did a video. Because again, I'm going to tell you a true story in San Francisco. Two of them. There was my husband was famous. He had he was in Cole Valley off Haight-Ashbury. It's called Cole Valley, very famous street. And he was famous because he had a 911 T Porsche, He had a Corvette, 1959 Corvette and 1957 Corvette. And he was into cars. That was his thing. Okay, I'm not bragging. And he was 21 when I met him. He had those cars. And I'm not bragging. That was just his thing. He loved cars. He wasn't about posing. He loved to go in the garage and work and pull apart engines and shit like that. He once had a goat that he rebuilt the engine from scratch. Okay? You guys know a goat if you know the Fast and the Furious, the one. Anyway, long story short, she was drunk. There was a girl that walked in. He was all with his boys. They were having beers. The girl walked in, and one of them nudged my husband. At the time, I didn't know him. He was probably 20, okay? And he said, hey, dude, we could all have her. He goes, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, get the fuck out of my garage. And he took the girl, because she was drunk, and he figured she was not safe to go home alone. He took her and walked her back to where she lived. It wasn't that far, probably a few blocks away, and brought her to her parents' house. Another time, I talk about, you'll hear it in my other life, so I won't repeat that one, because you're going to hear it in my other life, the other story. I have a lot of stories with my husband doing shit like that. They were going to, okay? Anyway, what the fuck? Are you sick? Like, because they were all ready, okay? All right, the second story. It's me, actually. It's San Francisco. I'm 25. I'm looking out my window. I'm seeing these guys bullying a little, you look like a pale 5'7" dude. And they're bullying him on a fucking car space. Now, if you've ever lived in San Francisco, you know how car spaces are fucking, like, it's a pain in the ass to find one. So anyway, they decided that he had stolen their car spaces, and they were going at it. And they were going to fucking beat him up. And my husband at the time it was early morning. He was sleeping still. I was dressed. I was about to get ready for work. And I said, dude, look, they're doing this. He goes, yeah, hang on. I'm going to get dressed. And he wasn't going fast enough for me. So I went out with a baseball bat and just went at them. And I got very big and said, what the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck away from him. And I was like that. And my husband had thrown on his jeans, barefoot, 6'2". I'm 5'5". And he comes on behind me and grabs the baseball bat from behind me and starts going at these men and telling me to get behind him. And when it was done, well, of course, the cowards ran away. He made sure the guy was okay. The cops were called, and my husband threw the bat under the car, so that when the cops came, they wouldn't shoot him, because that's the world we live in. And afterwards, he said, what were you thinking? I go, because I made a decision when I lived in New York that, because in New York, they would beat old women up, and everyone in the train would just keep reading their book, listening to the Walkman. I said, I used to hear that. And I made a decision as a kid, as a teenager, that if I ever saw violence, I wouldn't care if it fucking cost me my life. I will not sit and watch it happen without doing something. And he said, okay, gotcha. I understand. But my husband, my young, beautiful husband, never allowed injustice to go unchecked. He was a man. He saved more women than I can tell you. My twin saw a girl, not just my husband seeing a girl getting beat up by a friend, her boyfriend, which he saved her. My twin saw a girl being beat up by her boyfriend. My twin's a boxer. He's 6'3", and he stopped it. So when we talk about bears in the woods with men and all that shit, we have to look at also mean girls, luring a beautiful girl into the woods to beat her up to her death. Or a transgender. I saw a story recently of girls and a boy, luring this trans and beating him to the end of his life, beating her actually to the end of her life. So I'm having a hard time with this divide and conquer shit, which I've talked about, which is also money. The disparity of money is a divide and conquer. And we look up to someone with a Rolex. We look up. I enjoy a Rolex. Like my husband had a Rolex when they were $900. You could buy one for $900. Now they're $50,000. I mentioned that already. But we don't look up to people who have one. We don't think suddenly they're wiser than we are. I don't look up to Trump because he inherited 40 million and turned it into billions. If you can't turn 40 million into more money, there's something wrong with you, in my opinion. Okay, there's something wrong with you. And clearly there is something wrong with people and money, because we wouldn't have so many lotto winners who get broke within 5 years. There's something wrong with them, emotionally wrong with them and their connection with money. So that's another emotional deficit challenge that people have to work on. But we certainly don't put people on a fucking pedestal because they can afford plastic surgery. They can afford the best care in the world. That's bullshit. The person I'm putting on the pedestal is the people who in 40 years built so many fucking trees that they took an ecosystem that was dead, barren, and turned it into the beautiful system that they created. It's a fucking forest. That I totally look up to. I'm like, wow, that's extraordinary. And they didn't do it because they were rich. They didn't have the money. So they just did what they could. That's something to look up to. I look up at people who fight Greenpeace, who fight whalers, right? On their little dinghies, risking their life. And sometimes, now, just, you might laugh and go, saving a whale, haha, that's like, no. Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry was a brilliant writer. Star Trek did a movie. I've repeated it again and again, but I'm bringing it up again. Star Trek did a movie in the early 90s of Dr. Spock and Captain, I forgot his name. But anyway, the world was ending. It was the year 3000. In the future. I don't remember the year, to be honest. But anyway, it's 3,000 years in the future. And the planet is dying. Planet is dying, and they realize it's because the last whale died. So the frequency of the whale is not, and the planet can't live without the frequency of at least one whale. So it's a kind of a funny haha movie where they go back to SeaWorld in the 80s, right, to kidnap a male and a female sperm whale, which they do. And the minute they drop these whales back into the future, back into the ocean, the heartbeat of the world starts raring again. In other words, these whales' frequency saves the planet in the future. So when a Greenpeace person is fighting whalers to save the life of a whale, it's not a small thing. It's kind of like save the bees, right? Save the bees is a big deal because no bees, we're fucked. I'm not kidding, we are fucked, okay? So we have to kind of like realize those are the people you want to put on a pedestal. And none of them, all of them remain, as you put it, Rachel, under the radar. None of them, I don't know their face. I wouldn't know a Greenpeace person or Save the Bees person, or I planted a million trees and changed a barren, place to a forest if I saw them on the streets, sadly. But I should know them. But I don't, because they're not doing it for that reason. Let me see. We should teach money management in school, but don't we should demand science-based study of economy is the last soft science which makes economists apologists for the oligarch. Honestly, I think that we keep looking at education. I laugh at that because when I went to Pacific Palisades High School in the 70s, they were busing kids from the ghettos, and there were 40 kids in a classroom with 30 chairs. You get the problem right there. And there were 20 books to 40 kids. You get the problem right there. And then we had teachers walking and going, I don't give a fuck. They didn't say the word fuck, but I'll say the word fuck. I don't care if you learn. I get paid regardless. And that was day one of class in one of the richest places in California, Pacific Palisades, in the 70s with the busing. And all the busing did was create massive harm. The apologists. And what it also did is it fended off real solutions for education. So we won't bring education to the ghetto. We'll bring the ghetto to this, and then but we won't have enough chairs or enough resources. But we did our we did our bit. It's pushing paper from one end of the room to the other. It's a joke. So fuck education. Sorry for my friend. Fuck education. Stop saying we need to demand economy and class. No, what we need to demand is that we as parents need to educate our kids. I was teaching banking to my kid when he was 10, homeschooling him. Okay, I did it. Not the school. Okay, let's stop constantly pushing that shit. The school, honestly, schools is a babysitting camp. Let's get real now, okay? Let's get fucking real, because the lotto was supposed to bring education to our kids, okay? More money. Oh, we don't have enough money for this. Really? How many times are you going to call me cry mouth? How many times are you going to pay teachers fucking nothing? But you're going to pay senators $250,000 a year and give them free health care. Okay? Why don't we take, I don't know, what an idea. Each senator gets $50,000 less. Each congressperson gets 50. Why don't we deduct their salary and move it over to let's push paper on that side. Let's give it to the educators. But on a basic common sense, be responsible as a parent. My Wells Fargo at the time used to have a system on their computer where you could actually teach banking and how to balance a checkbook for your kid. It was a kid's program, right there, free. It was free, and I used it. He learned how to balance his checkbook. He knows how to buy crypto. I didn't teach him; he taught himself that. He learned about different types of history. I took him to a feminist movie from a friend who did a documentary on feminism. I did that. He was 8. I took him hiking and told him about geometry and parameters, where we took a ruler in the plot of a land, in the forest. That's how he learned geometry. Let's be real, okay? That's how he learned some of the systems. Because I did it. And I didn't do as much as I should have, to be honest. Fraction, I bought games, fraction pizza. Continents, I bought him maps. In the shower, to this day, I still buy the same shower curtain. It has the world on the shower curtain. The continents and the countries. He knows where Portugal is. How many 30-year-old know Portugal? If I ask someone off the street, where's Portugal? They wouldn't fucking know at all. They wouldn't know what's behind Portugal. They don't know that the UK is an island. You get that, right? I'm not joking. This is 20-year-olds coming out of high school, going to college. They don't know this shit. Why? Because geography was removed in the 70s. I was there. I was the last student that got the class in junior high school. I was 15 in this country. They took it out. So you have to do it. If you want your kid to learn black studies, but you're a white family or Hispanic family, you teach them. If you want them to learn about Hispanic studies, you teach them. If you want to learn about women's studies, you teach them. Because in college and university, only people who are interested in that course will take that course. It's not mandatory, and yet it should be. Everyone should know about each other's culture. Frankly, every fucking history book should have all of them immersed into it. It should be a massive book, right? It shouldn't just be about, no offense, I'm going to say it, white America. It should be about America. What did it look like? The history book doesn't include what happened to women. Did you know during the Civil War, all the men left and the farms fucking thrived? Did you know that they thrived? They made more money with the men gone. Women have a good sense of business. And then the men came back and, it went back to normal, which meant it went back to fucking collapse. That's you will only know that if you've studied women's studies. See, that's the sad part. That's the problem. But that should be education. When you educate someone, you educate them about their environment, which includes women and people of color. And religion. Religious studies. I went to Hong Kong school, International Lutheran school, but I learned about Buddhism. I learned about different religions. Because all of their students were multicultural, multi-ethnicity, multi-religious. So they taught religious studies, not just Lutheran studies, religious studies. Because it was important. So we could understand each other and respect each other. That was by design. Guess what? Best school I ever fucking went to. Best, bar none, the best school. Because there was the consciousness of not beating one religion into someone's head, but all religions, so that we, out of respect. That should be taught in schools. But I'm going to tell you, I'm stuttering because I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm going to be straight up. This country does not want to educate thinkers. And we all know that. How many people have told you they educate soldiers and they educate ants, worker ants? They educate people who would work at Amazon and work that awful job. That's who they educate. Yeah, so that's the problem. There you go. So let's not keep asking about until we have teachers making $90,000 a year, right? All of them, fucking bar none. I don't give a shit. All of them. And our senators are making $150 a year, because we've dispersed the salary appropriately. Since we don't have we're good at sending billions to other people, but not to So because they're not serious, let's do that first. Meanwhile, let's educate our own kids at home. And make it fun. Make it fun, make it educational, but make it fun. So they learn. So they actually absorb. They'll remember. They'll remember that they're not just going to regurgitate it for a fucking state test. State tests are a joke. They're actually a waste of time. No, we can't make something better until I said what I said. Until every teacher in this country is making $90K a year, every teacher, bar none, no matter what, right? Until that happens, then you can see that they're fucking serious about education. Until that happens, yeah, good luck. There is nothing. Let's stop beating a dead horse. It's a fucking dead horse. It's dead, completely. Basta, gone. I've been in this country educated. I've been to public school and private school all over the world. I actually know what I'm talking about. This is where I'm going to say I'm an expert. Why? Because I've been on every system you can think of, everywhere in the world, from Hong Kong to France, to England, to the United States, to Africa. I've actually been to school in Africa too, just so you know. So it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. I fucking know. I know the difference. I've seen it. I've lived it. So, there you go. And every time I was being educated in a foreign country, I'm being straight up. Hong Kong was one. Or a private school in New York, upstate New York. That's where I got my education. In France, in Switzerland, it was hard. I mean, we fucking worked our asses off. I don't know if you guys know that, but kids in Europe, when I was a kid, you went to school until Saturday. You get off at 12 noon on a Wednesday. Okay, on Wednesday you got off early, and then on Saturday you'd be back at school until noon. So we were going to school 6 days a week. That's the French system. At least it was when I was a kid. So I kind of know. So I know for a fact that they are not serious, or else they would have thinkers. The think tankers are used to create wars, not education. That's for damn sure. You know what I mean? I read a post today that 50% of teachers are quitting this year and won't be back. Absolutely. Love this. I'm glad you have the time. I'm very blessed with a hardworking hubby who provides so I can. That's beautiful. And you are very blessed. And you're on a team. You're on a team. That's beautiful, Rachel. You're very blessed. Yeah, me too. I mean, my husband would work, and then sometimes I'd have to work as well. And we put him on a charter school. Wrong, really bad. Every time I would put him into any charter schools is a lotto system. I don't know if you guys know charter schools. You got to actually win a lotto, and we won a lotto a few times, and it was shit. In one school, my son was being asked by other students to unaliven himself. There you go. Fun shit. Okay, so, and I went for civil rights violation with the school and won it in front of a judge. I became a fucking attorney, my own attorney. So you're talking to the wrong person about reforming education. I know for a fact it's not. That's why, Rachel, thank you for that. 50% are leaving. That's why they're leaving. And what's sad is the 52% leaving are probably excellent teachers who give a shit. The ones staying are full of shit. There you go. That's what we got left. So I know of parents who have done so much homeschooling as the kid is going to school, so much homeschooling in addition to them going to school, so that by the time the kid is 14, they can actually homeschool them without being supervised. I mean, in other words, the parent can go to work and not worry. The kid will be working on their lessons. When I was 10, 11, I was doing my own homework. No one was sitting beside me to have me do my homework. That's been normalized. That's insane shit. My mother didn't help me write my papers. When I was 14, I wrote my own papers. No one told me. I knew. Oh, I owe this on Thursday. I better get typing. I knew. 14, 13. So when you raise your kids to be responsible for their work, they'll do it on their own, so that by the time you say, you know what, we're homeschooling you, fuck this school. And you put them in home and you've got a whole curriculum set up and you come home, believe me, the kids' work will be done. And you'll look it over and make sure and it's documented to give it to the powers that be to make sure your kid's on track. Yeah. That's something you educate your kid to do. Okay? But let's not beat a dead horse. That's completely a waste of time. It's, I mean, especially now, Rachel, that you just shared that number. That's a fucking huge number. Huge. So now we're left with the dregs, the bottom of the barrel, because only the bottom of the barrel would continue being abused financially. In fact, they don't care. It's an easy paycheck. They get the summers off. I'm almost going to retire. Okay, that's what their concern is. I'm going to get my pension. And I'm sure some of them are just tired. Some of them are probably very good, but they're exhausted and they don't want. I've sat across at IEP meetings where I knew that some of those teachers wanted to tell me shit and they couldn't do it because they were being muzzled, because if they said anything out of the way to help me in my situation, they could get fired. I could see it in their eyes. So we have a corrupt system. Let's be real. Let's just stop the bullshit, okay? It's fucked up. And the charter school system is one aspect that is giving people, for some people it's very, very good, actually. Very, very, very good. It gives people more choices on how to educate and a lot more aids. There's a lot of aids in charter schools. A lot. So for every kid with one teacher, let's say there's a classroom of 30, there will be 2 aides. Whereas public school, there are no aides. There's no one. It's just the teacher and 30 kids. That's insane shit. So charter school is already in the better direction. But certainly what I would say is until they get better, don't wait for them to get better. Educate your own kid. It's your responsibility. Yeah. All right. Let me see. Longer, I'm trying. Yes, the ones leaving are the ones who we need, but I think it's a push. We need to rework education. Longer, need a degree. Have a good day. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to go. I have stuff to do today, but I'm sure you do too, and I want to thank you for being here. So lovely to see you, Rachel, always. And just educate your kid, and then you will do well. I will upload this video. Rachel, go ahead and go onto my YouTube channel and check out my the bear and the well. You'll see it. You'll literally see a bear. It's not hard. There's a short I did, and then there's the longer version. Check it out. I think it'll answer your question. Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think, good or bad. But leave a comment on the YouTube channel on that particular video, and let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right. Namaste. Be well. Sending you much love.